No, it will stay the same for the Argentina test, Ken. Yeah. So our main thing is to manage the load between the players in the games that we have available. Obviously, primary objective is to win the rugby championship. I think it's not in our hands now anymore. They must Australia must do us basically a favour, I think. But yeah, the main objective was that, and managing the load, trying to get everybody game time and a shot on the field. Yeah.
So in a weird type of way, if you've beaten the All Blacks and been content to win the rugby championship, then you might have tinkered with the plan a bit.
No, I think it would have stayed the same. Like I say, the team that we would have selected, irrespective the Argentina game, the team that we will select for the Argentina game is a game that we obviously believe will be good enough to beat Argentina. Just as we thought the team that we selected to beat New Zealand will be good enough to beat New Zealand, as we did with the team that we selected against Australia.
Jacques, how concerned or positive are you after reviewing Saturday's match again?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. Obviously concerned with the start, if I can put it like that, but then positive in how we clawed it back after the first 20 minutes, how we got into the game after the first 20. But obviously the first 20 minutes is not and wasn't a nice watch.
Jacques, how's Jaden doing, and how much of a boost is it to have him back? We all know that he just recently went through.
Yeah, no, listen, it's always nice to get somebody back that has left the squad for whatever reason, because we're all a big family, and condolences to him and his family, and all we can do is support him, and I'm glad it's going better with him, and yeah, condolences to his family.
Hi, Jacques. Can you just get an update on Oxygen?
Nienaber is doing well. He's back into the camp after the 2 weeks that he was. He couldn't be part. He wasn't able to do anything with us. But he's back in camp with us now, and I think he's probably 4 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe at most 5 weeks before playing again.
Jacques, are you confident? Sorry, are you confident that somebody like Boks, just as a follow, that he could possibly be fit enough to come into selection for those warm-up matches, getting to that World Cup?
Yeah, if he's cleared medically, Percy, yeah, he's definitely a guy that will be able to come into the mix. Yeah, if he's medically cleared, first of all. He, like I said, now, for obviously after the injury, there's not a lot you can do. Keep it still, probably in a sling. I'm not sure how they handled him medically. But he was with us now in the gym, busy with his own rehab program. So he's busy with the stuff that he's allowed to do. But everything, when I spoke to the doc and from the specialist, it looks like it's another 4-week injury. Yeah, before he will be good enough medically to play. Hopefully, if everything goes fine. It's always there's markers. Listen, after a week, he needs to get this range of movement without pain. And if you miss a marker, then obviously there's a little bit of a setback. Yeah.
Jabulani, good day, Jacques. It's less than 3 weeks until you announce the squad, which is going to the World Cup. I believe it's on the 8th of August.
That's correct.
So, how settled are you and the holistic management on the group of players that are going to France? And on top of that, is there any opportunity for other players to raise up their hands for selection who are not in the group that is going to France? I submit.
Firstly, I think it's still. I think we've got a good idea, but it's open. I mean, we will definitely. That's why we want to spread the load between all the players to get everybody a chance, and it won't always work out that everybody will get the same chance as the other guys. But I think it definitely still full on to play. There's good competition within this group, and it's not settled at all. But we've got obviously a clear idea. We've been building with this group since 2018. You know, so there is some clear ideas, but obviously performance will be the key factor. And will somebody outside this group? Probably only when injuries strike the team, because there's no rugby currently on. So there's no, the pre-seasons will probably start next week, where guys will get back into it. But out of the group that we have currently, there's no other rugby being played. So I think it's difficult for someone on performance. It will be, there's an injury and we need to get somebody in to fulfill a role, and then we'll get somebody in.
Jesse, I'm always wondering what you're leading to. When I see a player like yourself at a press conference, should you lead into something about this next match against Argentina? Maybe you can answer that question. I could have asked the question to your coach as well, but maybe you can answer that question. And the second part of my question is, just give us a bit of your background. Are you still based in Japan? Are you settled there? Any movements? Are you watching Japan?
To answer your first question, I've got no idea. Our team selection only happens next week. So, and then second is, I'm loving Japan. I had a great season over there, and it was great having a guy like Faf join our team there, having a familiar face, and it's great to be back here in South Africa with the Springboks, and really enjoying being back in camp.
Are you desperate to be part of the team, of the starting team, or are you thinking of possibly?
Asking if I'm desperate.
No,
of course I'm desperate. Obviously I definitely want to play. I think everyone, if you ask any single guy in the squad if they want to play, I think of course the answer is always going to be yes. I think if you don't want to play, then there's a big problem. So very, very, very keen to play. It all depends on what we need going into the game. Like Jacques says, certain games take or acquire certain skill sets and certain players. And it just depends on what we need for the weekend.
Afternoon, gentlemen. Jacques, considering the highs of the Australian game and the lows from the New Zealand game, and the plan being what it was, are you getting the answers that you were looking for in terms of splitting teams? Have some new questions come to board that you are looking to answer now?
No, I think we're getting answers in terms of how we play and want to play, and some stuff we're getting right, some stuff we obviously didn't get so right against New Zealand. So from a rugby point of view, I think we're getting answers, and definitely getting answers in terms of that. But in terms of the squad and selecting and splitting the squad, it was always going to be that way. If you think some of our players, the guys who didn't make the playoffs in Japan, they probably, when did they finish? In mid-April. They were probably 2 weeks in April. So they haven't been exposed to any rugby since April. So they've only had. So we have to manage that. We're a little bit different than Super Rugby in that perspective, where Super Rugby plays like we did in the past. They play right up to 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I think 2 weeks before the start of Rugby Championship. So they're quite battle hardened, where we are a little bit different. Because our URC and because we operate and our clubs are playing in the Northern Hemisphere, we finish a little bit earlier than Super Rugby. So that's why we need to kind of spread the load in terms of getting people back into playing rugby again.
No, it was answered. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Can you
I'm Jacques, Jesse, good afternoon, guys. I'm Jacques, just back to the props question. Are you able to take us through what's the planning with Trevor, because it's been part of the squads throughout the year. He played a bit in the Rugby Championships, toured with the Boks end of the year, but didn't get a game. Also hasn't got a game now, despite being part of the squad. Are you able to just give us an idea as to what is the plan with Trevor at the moment?
That Trevor?
Yes.
No, Trevor is in the mix, like anyone. Like Jesse said, normally we will sit down and say, listen, what do we need out of our props for this challenge? And then we will go, we think the best guys that will combat that or provide that to us is these guys. And then we will go with them. And it might change going into Argentina.
Jacques, is Andre still on course to play after the Rugby Championship, like you earlier said?
Yeah, no, so Andre and Sia, I got told that somewhere I said that they'll play against Wales, but the thing is, the main thing is they will not, we didn't think they will make Rugby Championship. But after that, in the warm-up games, hopefully, And even if, and like I mentioned now with rehab, you start a process or a rehab program, and then let's say there's swelling or there is a loss of range of movement or whatever reason, you probably go a step back. So if everything goes well, hopefully they'll make the warm-up games, Wales and again I reiterate, hopefully. But it's something you can't predict, can't manage. The one thing I can definitely tell you, we will not push them. We will not force them to play, or if they're not medically right and clear and confident. Obviously, confidence is something that they will try and get out of training sessions, and then they will probably have to build their confidence in games. But hopefully, we can get them. But I mean, if it will be what it will be. Yeah.
Jacques, just maybe you can take us through the thought process in terms of Argentina game next week. Is the thought process to give whoever hasn't had a game yet? I think there's about 5 or 6 guys in the squad that maybe haven't played yet.
Yeah.
Or is it more to start honing in on the final sort of momentum World Cup squad essentially?
Yeah, I think the key thing for us is like I've mentioned. I think obviously they've got a specific game plan and a skill set that Argentina bring to the table. That's different to New Zealand, different to Australia. So firstly, we must pick the right team that can combat that and that maybe can exploit. Maybe if there is potential weaknesses within the team, we need to select people that can exploit that. So I think that's the first thing when it comes to team selection. But when there's a player that probably haven't had game time and we feel he can provide the same thing, we might give them game time. But it's not to say that obviously the guys that haven't played yet, they will definitely play against Argentina. It's not to say. But they will hopefully get a chance in the next 2 games. But again, that won't be a given, and we explain them to the players like that.
Jesse, there's still a lot of intrigue, I think, for normal South African fans, about the Springboks playing in Japan and stuff. I think there's a lot of evidence, that it does wonders, in some guys' careers. We've seen how well Kwagga has done, Damien, Lindy, Billy LaRue, Malcolm Marks, those guys. Just from your perspective, how has Japan actually honed your game, and what have you enjoyed about playing in Japan, in terms of thinking as an international player?
Yeah, well, I think firstly, when you're over there in a foreign country, different language, I think there's a lot less distractions on and off the field. So I think there's a lot more of your time goes into rugby. So I think that's been a great thing. I've been there for 4 years now, and you get a lot more time to work on your game. I think the Japanese are also extremely hardworking people, so the work ethic is really great there, and guys are keen to get involved after sessions, help you with extras and stuff like that. And then I also think there's a lot of ball in play, so you're making more tackles, or you're making a lot of tackles. Your catch and pass is a massive focus over there. So all those kind of things, I think, contribute to making you a better player. And I feel like I've become a better player playing over that side. Yeah, and there's a lot of other things, but I think those are kind of the main things that I've found that have been really good. And I think if you ask a lot of the other guys that are playing over there, they'll tell you the same thing. So yeah, it's been a really good experience being that side.
Jacques, this question poses to you again. I mean, it might come a little bit earlier, but for me it's convenient since you and the lads are traveling. You are in Pool B for the World Cup. I think you are against Scotland, Ireland, and Tonga, if I'm not mistaken. You have done your assessment. So the question is, do you think the Springboks will come out alive in that Pool B? And the other one is Lucanio M. According to my, the way I've been seeing him play, is not in his best performance. What has been the conversation, with him personally, so that at least he increases his chance of being selected ahead of the World Cup?
Yeah, the first question, I think everybody knows we're in a tough pool, and I think if you look at the world rankings currently, just in our pool, it's number 4, number 5, and number 1 in the world currently ranked. that's in one pool, and one of those 3 countries are not going to make it. Now, obviously, I believe we can make it. They must fire me if I say, listen, we won't make it out of that pool. We've got our plans, but it's going to be a tough pool. But that's a nice thing. We know we're in knockout rugby from the first game, and the most important game is going to be Scotland. I know everybody thinks it's Ireland because they're number 1 team in the world, but the most important game is going to be Scotland for us. And like I mentioned, it's knockout rugby from game 1 for us. Then and then we go to a quarter-final where you're either going to play New Zealand or you're going to play France. So yeah, it's a tough side of the pool, but look, we can't control it. It is what it is. You just have to battle on, make plans, make sure that we spread the load between the squad, that we select the best players that's on form, that we believe can do something for us at the World Cup, make sure that they have enough game time under the belt, that they're nice and battle-hardened. So that's all we can do, and to make sure that they are in the best peak rugby performing physical conditioning when we hit Scotland. Then Lucanio. Lucanio is just coming back from an injury. Not just, but I mean, he suffered an injury last year when he played against Australia. For us, I think the test match against Adelaide. He just coming back in terms of that. I thought he was solid in the game that we played against Australia. I think he's getting back into it slowly but surely.
Can you so?
Sure. When you look at the reaction from Saturday's game, you've been steadfast with the plans that you have in terms of playing the players that you need to play. But are you able to talk us through the emotional turmoil of looking at Saturday's result and wondering whether you need to stick to the players that actually played in New Zealand, considering the fact that you actually raised that some of the guys in Japan haven't played a lot of rugby since, and I think that would have been one of the factors in terms of how slowly the Boks started on Saturday.
I think obviously the start wasn't electric, and you never go out in a game to have a start like that. It just sometimes happens, and you must look at why it happened. And I think if you look at the reasons why it happened, it was we were under pressure in terms from a. If you look at, I think in the first 20 minutes we conceded 4 penalties against 1. So you struggle to get a foothold in the game. If you play, there you give a penalty away. Now you're back in your own half. Now you have to exit again. You have to get in the right areas of the field. You play, you lose a ball at the breakdown, a penalty again. They kick you back in your half. So then you struggle to get. So you want to start with intensity. You struggle starting with intensity when you give 4 out of the 5 penalties away in the first 20 minutes. So I think our discipline let us down now. So we only can look at it from a how can I say, objective point of view. And then secondly, I think we made errors in terms of handling errors, missed tackles. It was a kicking game, knocking balls on in the air, which is probably, I think if you look at the Boks, it's a little bit out of character. I don't think we've done that before as much as we did in that first 20 minutes. And hats off to the players for shrugging it off and then getting a foothold in the game. And I think if you look at it from 20 minutes onwards, if you look at it, if the game could have been like that, and it's not like that. So I don't want to soften it, but we won the last 60 minutes 17-50, but we started poorly, and it shouldn't be like that. And you can never, people say, listen, we want a quick start, we want a fast start, we want a good start. You can't plan for a good start. You must be accurate, you mustn't give penalties away, and you must have intensity. And that's the things that we have to sort out ourselves, between us and the players. And then the other one?
So just the emotional process of processing that defeat, and when your thought process changes in terms of keeping to your plan. Yeah,
that's the thing. I think if you look at it emotional, you make emotional decisions. So the plan that we've put out to the players, we've done that in the alignment camps. I think it was in February, March, April. We said to them, listen guys, this is what we're going to do. Why? Because then you don't make emotional decisions. You sit down and you try and plan how we think we're going to get the guys in the best optimal position, physically, rugby-wise, mentally, when we hit the World Cup. Still getting momentum. It's easy when you win and you have momentum. It's easy to do that. So, and you only change your plan if things happen. Like if there's injuries, if there's guys that don't perform, and you have to make changes within your team selection. So there's still a scope to change, but the plans were made and it's unemotional. And when we look at the game, after our review is 100% objective. Sometimes you win a game, and when you go and look at your markers, your key performance indicators, we have 12 we measure, big ones. You sometimes you've won 4 out of 12, but you won the game. So now to go, ooh, yes, we won the game. It's emotional. Ooh, you won the game. Well done, tick, and that's the most important thing to do. But you were lucky. Sometimes you win games and you're lucky. Sometimes you lose games and you're unlucky. Where you hit 11 out of 12, but the 12th one is winning a game, but you didn't win the game. Sometimes it happens. So we try and take the emotion out of it by looking at it clearly from an objective point of view. We planned this. We picked players that can execute that. Did we achieve that? Did we tick the box? If we didn't, okay, what's the solution to that? If we did, yes, perfect. Box tick. We can build on that. Yeah.
Guys, we've got 9 minutes left, so let's take English question over there, and then we get into Afrikaans.
Coach, just back to Andre and the possibility that he's not going to be playing for a couple more weeks in 4 games. We know what Damien can do at number 10. We've seen what happened last weekend. Mani, what he did the weekend previously.
Yeah.
Deciding between those two in the last few weeks, how are you going to go about it? Are you going to give Mani all of the opportunity and say, go for experience, or give to Willemse and say, we need you to hone your skills at number 10, just in case Andre doesn't make it?
I think the main thing there is it's going to be those two. And then Elton if there's an injury, and if Andre doesn't make it. We always said Elton was our number 4th choice, and yeah, but he can become number 3 if Andre doesn't make it. You know. So yeah, the key thing is it's those two guys. That's probably will get majority of the game time in terms of that, and I mean obviously Elton as well. Elton need game time. He hasn't played for a long time, so he will also need some game time. So we're going to try and balance it as much as we can over the next couple of games between the fly-offs. But that's, I don't think there's a lot of countries that have 4 fly-offs available, or 4 fly-offs that can play fly-off with the quality fly-offs that we have. And like I say, we won't push Andre. Hopefully he makes it. And like I say, he's currently on track in terms of his markers that he needs to hit. But it is what it is. It will be those 4 guys. Hopefully, if Andre makes it and he performs, he needs to get himself into the squad. Then it will. Yeah, Elton is number 4, and then one of those 3.
Okay, guys, we've got 7 minutes left, so I'm just thinking about Afrikaans-wise, but first, Fran.
Ek sou sê, Jacques Nienaber vir Afrikaans praat. Ek kompleks, jy moet net 'n bietjie van 'n nabetragting gedoen het na die wedstryd in Auckland meer. Jy was na die wedstryd baie emosioneel geweest. Jy het nou kans gehad om te dink oor hierdie wedstryd. Jou hoogtepunte, jou laagtepunte van die 2 wedstryde sover. Wat neem julle nou vorentoe na teen Argentina en die platform van die wêreldbeker? En die tweede deel as opgewonde kollega gevra oor net so altyd oor die beserings en wat is die kwessie rondom die loskap kwessie met Andre Polle wat jy sopas gesê het, jy moet nie forceer om gou terug in die wedstryd.
Ja, die eerste ding is, ja, in terme van, ja, dis nooit lekker om 'n toets te verloor nie. So ek weet nie, ek dink nie ek's 'n baie emosionele ou nie, maar ek dink, ja, teleurgestel, sal ek sê, is miskien 'n beter woord na die toets teen Nieu-Seeland. Ek probeer altyd om so onemosioneel as moontlik daarna te kyk. En ek dink, ja, die hoogtepunte, laagtepunte van die Nieu-Seelandse toets, die eerste 20 minute is 'n laagtepunt in terme van hoeveel foute ons gemaak het, ons dissipline, die hoeveelheid strafskoppe wat ons afgestaan het. Maar die hoogtepunt was die laaste 60 minute waar ek dink ons mooi teruggekom het in die wedstryd en ons het onsself in 'n posisie gesit om aanspraak te doen om die wedstryd te wen. Maar ongelukkig was ons nie goed genoeg om dit te doen nie. Maar ons het die tweede 60 minute, ek dink 17-15 gewen. maar dit is nie die game nie. Die game is die hele 80 minute, maar ons het die eerste 20 opgeneem. So dit is ja, dit is in terme van die wedstryd, in terme van die beserings. Ja, die Sia en Andrei is die twee ouens wat miskien die langste uit gaan wees, of ons wag om te kyk wanneer hulle gaan terugkom. Hoopelik is dit voor die wêreldbeker. As dit nie is nie, of dit net aan die einde van die wêreldbeker is, dan sal ons 'n besluit moet maak op daai twee spelers. Ek dink as jy kyk na Sia en Andrei, dan sal ek sê, yes, hulle het al bewys wat hulle kan doen. So ek dink dit tel 'n bietjie in hulle guns, dat 'n ou dalk 'n ou sal vat soos 'n Andrei of 'n Sia sonder dat hulle 'n wedstryd gespeel het wêreldbeker toe, want ek dink in die jare wat hulle al Suid-Afrika gedien het hulle vir ons bewys dat hulle goed genoeg is om dit te doen. Ek dink as jy net dink aan Sia in 2019, jy weet, hy het 'n selfe posisie gewees, nie 'n wedstryd gespeel nie. Ek dink hy het die opwarmingswedstryd gespeel teen Japan en dit was dit, en toe sy in 'n wêreldbeker en hy was goed in die wêreldbeker gewees. So ek dink ons Andrei was dieselfde in die Britse en Ierse Lions, uit 'n kniebesering uitgekom direk in die Britse en Ierse Lions, en ek dink hy het baie wedstryde gespeel voor dit nie, en hy het ons gehelp om die Britse en Ierse Lions te wen. So ek dink daai twee spelers het bewys al in die verlede dat hulle uit 'n besering uit in 'n groot kompetisie kan ingaan en suksesvol wees. Maar dis nie ouens wat ons sal druk nie. Ons sal nie hulle moet hulle rehabilitasie voltooi, en as hulle medies beskikbaar gemaak word, dan sal ons hulle kies.
Jacques, dit in terme van, ek dink nie enigiemand ontken dat jy regtig, jy weet, strides gemaak het om julle diepte, jy weet, uit te kring op losskakel, ek weet, met Mani, jy weet, net vir Damien 'n bietjie meer blootstelling gee in daai posisie ding nie. Maar gegeewe maar nog steeds, jy weet, 'n bietjie die twyfel oor Andrei, het ek maar net gewonder, ons het nou soos verlede naweek ook gesien dat hy nou, jy weet, soos een van die voorste try assist manne, jy weet, is van die afgelope paar dekades met Willie en dinge. Ek wil amper sê, jy weet, net gegeewe daai konteks, is Willie amper die setup, jy weet, bloot net omdat hy vir julle daai playmaking en jy weet, 'n besluitnemingsopsie, jy weet, bied binne wedstryd al, is dit van, jy weet, heel
van 15 af, ja. Nee, definitief. Ek dink as jy die snaakse ding is jy na Willie se wedstryde gaan kyk in Japan, hy het meer 10 gespeel as 15. Vir Toyota. Dis Toyota, né?
Ja, amper elke game.
Ja, ek dink hy het al sy games op 10 gespeel vir hulle. So ja, Willie is definitief 'n opsie as 'n ou sou gaan en jy besluit om nie 3 10e te gaan nie, is Willie 'n opsie. Soos wat Frans Steyn, ons het die vorige wêreldbeker ook net met 2 10e gegaan. In terme van Elton en Andrei, en dan Frans was altyd ons derde keuse, die ou wat sou instaan indien daar beserings is. Ja, so dit hang af of jy gaan met 3 of 2 10e, dan is Willie 'n uitstekende opsie om daai fonds oor te vat. Ja.
Laaste vraag?
Dankie. Jacques, julle speel vir die laaste keer hierdie jaar in Suid-Afrika volgende naweek. Maar julle speel ook 'n opwarmingswedstryd in die All Blacks op Twickenham.
Ja.
Hoe gaan jou beplanning wees vir daai All Black game as jy 'n bietjie vorentoe kyk teenoor dit wat nou gebeur het verlede naweek? Dis een deel van die vraag, en die tweede deel van die vraag het jy goed weggesteek hierdie naweek wat verby is.
Nee, eerste ding, ja, ons speel ons laaste toets in Suid-Afrika. En ek moet sê, dit kan potensieel, as Australië ons 'n guns doen, kan dit potensieel die besluitnemer wees van die rugby kampioenskappe. En dit sal ongelooflik wees om 'n vol Ellis Park is so ikoniese stadion in ons land met soveel geskiedenis, jy weet, dit sal ongelooflik wees om 'n vol Ellis Park te sien. Soos wat ons gesien het in die laaste toetse, ek dink hoeveel van ons laaste toetse, 7 van die laaste toetse was uitverkoop, en die mense is unbelievably supportive. So yes, dit sal ongelooflik baie vir ons beteken as span, as dit 'n vol Ellis Park is, want ek dink daar's niks so intimiderend soos 'n vol Ellis Park nie. Dan jy tweede die beplanning van die, weet jy, ek dink ek dink 'n ou wil in die wêreldbeker ingaan met momentum. So dit hang af wat gebeur in die 2 Argentynse wedstryde, wat ons gaan doen in Wallis en wat ons gaan doen in teen Nieu-Seeland. As ons lekker momentum het, kan 'n ou dalk bietjie eksperimenteel wees in die Nieu-Seelandse wedstryd of dalk eksperimenteel wees in die Wallis wedstryd. Maar ek dink 'n ou moet altyd sien nou ouens wat Saterdag wat gespeel het teen Australië en wat bietjie 'n wedstryd onder die blad gehad het en hoe hulle performance was toe hulle opgekom het, jy weet, jy kan sien hulle is baie meer gewoond gewees aan die pace van die game. Die ander ouens het 'n bietjie tyd gevat. So ek dink ook 'n ou moet ons moet dit ook in die agterkop hou dat as jy nie van jou beste spelers gaan speel in die Nieu-Seeland wedstryd nie, is dit potensieel 1 week Nieu-Seeland, dan is dit Korsika, dan is dit so dan kan dit wees dat ouens 3-4 weke laas rugby gespeel het. So ek dink dis die ander ding wat 'n ou ook moet opweeg is luister, jy wil nie in 'n soos ek gesê het ons pools is uitklop wedstryde van nommer 1 af. So jy wil nie in 'n uitklop wedstryd ingaan met ouens wat 'n maand laas rugby gespeel het nie. So ek dink dis 'n ander ding wat ons ook aan sal moet dink. So om daai balans te kry in die volgende 4 wedstryde gaan belangrik wees vir ons, ja.
Jacques, just in closing, can you just repeat the last game at home next week at Los Pumas in English, please?
Yeah, in terms of our last home game, at Ellis Park. Ellis Park is such an iconic stadium in South Africa with a lot of history. So, in terms from a team perspective, from us, it would be phenomenal. I think we had 7 sold-out games in South Africa. And it's phenomenal the support that we get from our supporters, and it will mean so much for the team. It might be the decider of the Rugby Championship if Australia can do us a favour against New Zealand. We've pretty much dropped the ball and it's out of our hands now, but it will be phenomenal if we can have a full Ellis Park. I think there's nothing as intimidating. There's not a lot of stadiums that's more intimidating than a full 65,000 people at Ellis Park at altitude. It will be phenomenal.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
I just ask for one picture. One picture. Sorry, guys. I just need 2 microphones.
Picture.